if you're listening to podcasts like this, if you're out there hustling and actually doing deals, getting on the phone, making offers to sellers, you're going to make money. This system tells you what to do with the money once it comes in to give yourself that peace of mind of, I know what to do with the money and I know how to be a profitable business owner and not be running around like a chicken with my head cut off.
David, thank you for joining me for our Thought Leader Spotlight series. I'm your host, Matt Camp with DealMachine. And on these, I really like to shine a spotlight on industry experts like yourself, hear your inspiring stories and really educate our audience on how you see the world evolving. So really excited today to welcome on a very special guest, David Richter. I know you are the author of one of the most influential books in our space today, Profit First for Real Estate Investors. And then you personally, you've done over 850 deals, gotten that many deals under your belt too. So you're an investor yourself, you're an author, you're a speaker, you've got a great podcast. And then, on top of that, I know you have a company that offers fractional CFO services for real estate investors too. So you're a busy guy. I appreciate you spending your time with us, David.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to share this message more today and then just getting this out there. And I really appreciate you having me.
Yeah, of course. And really to begin with, I like to really dig a little bit deeper than your bio. So can you maybe tell us a little bit more about your real estate investing journey, how you got into this industry? Tell our audience a little bit more about your beginnings.
Yeah, it's going to sound like probably a lot of people who started in real estate. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad in college. So it was that book. It was a book that got me into real estate investing and also just changed my mindset completely from thinking I had to go to work, go to school, get a good job, all that stuff, to where I could actually do something different. So that was the big catalyst for me going into real estate. Started working with an investor in the local area, bought my first house on 12-12-12. It was like lots of things were happening at that time. I was in college. I was going to get married soon and, bought that first house at that same time as well, too. Lived in it for 2 years and then, rented it out a little bit, lease option the property, then sold it 2 years later. And since we had lived in it, there was no capital gains tax, which was really nice because if you live in a property 2 out of 5 years, you don't have to pay any capital gains. So that guy actually cashed me out the lease option, and that was really nice. Then from there, it was working with that company. I had found someone who was successful in our area, and I'm like, I don't want to just learn real estate investing on my own or from these podcasts or from the books or all that. Like, I want to get hands on. I want to get my hands dirty. I want to do it where I am today too, like with my knowledge. And I want to dive in and help someone else and really understand the business of real estate investing and not just, buying a house here or there. So that's where I linked up with them, started doing about 5 deals a month, at that place. And then we ramped it up to about 25, 30 deals a month. And that was the start of the real estate journey and kind of seeing a real estate company take off and doing about 300 deals a year. So that was a lot of experience crammed into about 5 years, which was way better, I say, than my college education. So I'm glad I got into the real estate world and worked with that company and really saw a lot of deals done. And we did a lot of different types of deals too, a lot of different exit strategies from buy and hold to turnkey to fix and flip and wholesale and wholetail and lease options and seller finance. And I got to sit in a lot of seats too. Marketing, sales, acquisitions, project management, property management, finance. So I really got to see the full encompassing of like small business, scaling it up, and then, going from there. So that's kind of how I got introduced to the whole real estate world and got active in the community too.
Love it. And then how did you transition into writing the book? Like what was kind of your journey to
Sure.
get to the book portion of that?
So while I was at that company, one of the last seats I sat in while I was there was the finance seat. And that's where I really learned how to read the story of the business, which are the numbers. The numbers tell the story of a business. And even though we were doing 25 deals a month, we were spending like 26. So it's like, who cares that we were doing so much if we're not able to actually be profitable or bring home the bacon, or like to grow and grow profitably. So that was a huge red flag for me of like, man, this is not good. And then we would go to other mastermind events too, and you'd hear people like from stage say how many deals they're doing, but then they're crying at the bar like, hey, I just lost money on this flip, or I'm losing money in the company, or like I have no idea where my money is. So that got me scratching my head like, I think it's not just us. I think this is like an epidemic in the real estate world. So even to confirm that more, needless to say, that company didn't last very long with all of us there. There was, it was overstaffed. It was, top heavy, had too many people on the team. So a lot of us went our separate ways. I sold all the real estate I had, moved across the country, went to work for another investor. And this was like confirming more, because one of the first things I asked him was, let me see your numbers. Like, show me your books. I don't care what you're doing. Like, if we're going to partner up here, I'm going to be on the team here, I want to know you're doing okay. And so he showed me, and like I couldn't read it, because like most investors, it was just like he had a bookkeeper doing it, but they weren't real estate investing related. They didn't know how to put things in. And I'm like, I can't read this. So we got to clean this up. So I'm like, there we go. There's another notch in my mind of like, I think this is an epidemic out there that most people just don't know. What are they making, spending, and keeping? So that's what I did. We went in there, cleaned it all up. And also, from there, once it was cleaned up, found out he had a small portfolio of properties. We refinanced about 13 of them and put like $400,000 in this investor's pocket that he had of his own equity that were sitting in the properties, and he was still only leveraged at like 60% of the value. So, I mean, we found where his money was sitting. He was able to put it in his pocket. So for me, that was another huge eye opener of like how many people are sitting on money like this that they have no idea it's there, but it's theirs for the taking. So that was, to me, the icing on the cake, and like kind of the spark that sparked everything of why I wrote the book, or why I started the business I have today, was that investor came to me and said, this has been life changing. Like, now I know what I'm making, spending, keeping, and then I know where my money was, and now I can control where I put it. Do I want to put it back in my pocket? Do I want to go out and buy more properties? Like, now it was his to control, versus like, because he would say all the time, I don't know where my money is. Like, where's all my cash? Where it was in his properties. But without knowing that, without being very clear on that, it was like just, we're fumbling in the dark for him. That was the catalyst for me starting the company. And that's where a mentor of mine reached out and said, I heard you're starting a company to like give people that clarity. You should read Profit First. So that mentor told me, read that book. I read that book in one sitting, in one evening, took 10 pages of notes, said this is a great framework to help the entrepreneur understand where their money's going. Yeah. So it really helped me solidify that. Then after implementing it for about 8 to 12 months with real estate investors, the Profit First system, and seeing it work and seeing their businesses and their lives transform, that's when I went to Mike Michalowicz and said, hey, I've got a heavy background in the real estate investing world. I am a real estate investor. Could I write the book, because I want this message to get out, because I can't work with everyone. So like, can we at least get everyone on the same page of this is how you can keep more of the money? And that's where he said yes. And that's kind of where it led from, being in real estate to then helping people understand where the money's flowing in the real estate.
Yeah. Well, why do you think, I mean, I know you said it's an epidemic within the real estate investing space. Like, why do you think that is? Why do you think people, aren't, naturally doing this the right way?
Well, number one, it's the most uncomfortable department in their business. Everyone loves the marketing and sales. Everyone loves the, can we do this faster, better? That part of the operations, like, can we systematize this? Can I get a cool new, texting software or something to send out more leads? Yeah. So, and that's where on the finance side, that's usually one of the hats they either want to give to someone right away, or they just want to throw that hat away. So it's like I see that over and over again. And that's not just business, though. They're bringing a lot of stuff from their personal lives, too. Like, a lot of people in their personal lives either didn't have parents that talked to them about money, it was a taboo subject, or they never got that type of education, the basic personal finance education that would give them the confidence to make good decisions with money. So that's a big reason why they avoid it. Then they're wondering, because of that, their background and those habits, then they go to school, they go get a job, they're in the W-2 world, and then they get beat in, fall in line, do it this way, you need the job, all the stuff Robert Kiyosaki talks about. So then they're conditioned to be everything but the business owner, who not only knows how to bring deals in, but knows what to do with the money too. So that's where I feel like we get conditioned a lot behind that. And then the investor ends up living deal to deal. Instead of paycheck to paycheck, now it's like deal to deal. Like, I got to get that next deal, or we're going hungry, or I don't know what's going to happen if this deal gets pushed back, or like what the money's going to do. So that's why I feel a lot of people, it's from what they've been brought up on in their past, but then also a lot of the stuff that we're just conditioned to, that once you start reading books and start listening to podcasts like this, you start to unlearn, like Yoda says, you start to unlearn what you have learned. And you have to unlearn that to be able to be the business owner you are meant to be. So that's where I feel like a couple of the big reasons are that people get into this situation on the financial side.
Nice. So you're the financial Yoda of real estate, essentially. Is that what you're
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, that's what I aspire to be. I love Star Wars, and Yoda's definitely one of my favorite characters. And
Love it.
so, yeah, that's where we want to make sure we're helping people unwind a lot of what they've been wound up with.
Yeah. Can you maybe teach our audience a little bit about the foundations of this? I know
Yeah.
the full title of the book is turning a cash eating monster into a money making machine. So you dug into a little bit of why they might
Yeah.
feel that pain as a cash eating monster. But can you talk through the foundations of Profit First a little bit for investors?
So everyone wants to feel like that business owner, right? That's what we've touched on. Like they want to feel like I have a business that I'm running, that's not running me, that's also profitable, that is giving me the lifestyle that I want and fulfilling the purpose of why I started it. Some people want to make a ton of money. Some people want to give to charity. Some people want to provide jobs. Some people want a place, for long-term wealth building. Whatever your purpose was, that's why you started that business. You wanted that. And that's what everyone's seeking on the other side of this. Where I feel like Profit First comes into play is if you're listening to podcasts like this, if you're out there hustling and actually doing deals, getting on the phone, making offers to sellers, you're going to make money. This system tells you what to do with the money once it comes in to give yourself that peace of mind of, I know what to do with the money and I know how to be a profitable business owner and not be running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Because the formula we're fed, like here we go. Here's another conditioning, another programming that we get from not from schools this time and not from W2 world, but from the entrepreneurial world. Sometimes the entrepreneurial world doesn't train us to be business owners. Here's one big way they don't, is that everyone thinks the formula is sales minus expenses equals profit. Meaning I make a sale, I pay everyone else and their mother, then I get what's left over. Hopefully at the end of the day, at the end of the year, maybe when I sell all these properties, or maybe when I sell my company in the future, or maybe when, someday that time will come when I'm profitable. So we're conditioned. So it takes all those other conditionings from the past, plus what we hear in the grind and hustle world. And then it's like, oh, shoot, well, I'm paying everyone else and I have nothing left over for me. So it puts us into a very bad position as a business owner. We're not paying ourselves. We're like struggling along, and we think that's noble. There's even a nobility to some of that in some circles of like, hey, I'm sacrificing here, when they want to go back out and shoot their company like every day. But they're like, just one more day, let me grind it out. But they're miserable all the time. So that's where Profit First comes in with the formula of, no, it should be sales minus profit equals expenses, meaning I make a sale, I take my profit off the table first. I make sure I'm healthy, that the business is healthy, and then we live off what's left over for the business. So that's just a different mindset shift there to make sure that we're thinking the end game. That why did we get into the business? And we have to hold ourselves accountable to that and make sure that we're profitable. You could be profitable from day one. We don't expect no one, if you're listening to this podcast, we don't expect you to be the Snapchat, Facebook, like getting venture backed, and having these billions of dollars that you can spend in order to create this big company. You want to make the money so you can live today and you can have a good lifestyle today. So that's where that comes into play. Then Profit First has some very practical examples of what you can do in order to make profit a habit in your business, to put that profit first. So what can you do practically? One of the biggest mistakes investors make, and entrepreneurs in general, they have one big bank account where all the money goes in, all the money goes out. And they have no idea. That's how they manage the money in the business. That's how they think that, like, let me just take some today. I need some for myself, or there's a marketing expense. I have enough in my bank account. Let's just run it. But it gives them no clarity. And then they're wondering, like, shoot, did I take out too much? Am I going to overdraft? Can I pay payroll? Do I have enough for that stupid tax bill just came due? Do I have enough, can I take that out of the account without it overdrafting? So that's where Profit First says, instead of having all that anxiety from that one account, let's separate out those accounts to the values and purpose of your business, and make sure that you have accounts that are driving you towards profitability. So what are 3 bank accounts every business should have? Number 1, a profit account. Number 2, an owner's compensation or owner's pay, and then an owner's tax. Those are 3 bank accounts that everyone should have. And I like calling those the golden trio, just like in Star Wars. I'm going to just keep using the Star Wars reference. Like there's Luke, Han, Leia, always pushing the story forward for good, right? Well, your business needs those Luke, Han, Leias. And those are those bank accounts to make sure you win in the end, because your business is your epic saga. It's making sure you win in the end. So if you set up those accounts, now the formula becomes a reality. Because from the next deal that closes, instead of just funneling it all into that one account, separate out the money into profit, owner's pay, owner's tax, and then the operational expenses. So that way you have profitability, you have pay for yourself, and then you have the taxes sitting there. So there's some practical steps. There's the foundation of Profit First and how you can become that wealthy business owner who's not just running around like a chicken with their head cut off.
Yep, that's fantastic, and appreciate the Star Wars theme pulling back to that as well. Sure. But the whole process of really looking at your business, because you talk about, hey, your P&L, your financials is the health of your business. Can you maybe talk through some of the basics of that process of really assessing your health and knowing like, hey, I need to think about this in a different way, possibly?
Yeah. When it comes down to it, the owner really cares about 3 things. And the business only cares about 3 things: how much it's making, how much it's spending, how much it's keeping. If you know those 3 numbers, you know the health of your business. So in Profit First, it's very easy to see how much money is coming in into this bank account, how much is going out, are we spending in OpEx, and then how much are we keeping. Those are those 3 bank accounts that we set up. Like those are to help you keep more of the money. So that's where I would say Profit First is different than the P&L, the balance sheet, like all of that. Like, honestly, that's like next level. Like that's the advanced. That's where people fall off and stop listening because they're like, I don't want to learn or dig into that. Or like QuickBooks, I'd rather shoot myself in the foot, than dive into that. So that's where we tell people you need to know these 3 numbers. How much are you making, spending, keeping? Because that'll give you a very good view into how healthy your business is and how healthy you are. Because if you're like 0 for keeping, we know that's a big red flag right away. And if you're at spending and you're like at over 100% of what you're making, another red flag. But can we get those general numbers? And it's easy to get them from the cash perspective once you set up a system like this, because you see this is how much I brought in. And then if your OpEx keeps running out of money, you're spending more than you're making. So it's like the system is telling you and giving you those warnings. So that's where you can get more advanced. You can get to where it's like, hey, yeah, let's use the P&L, the balance sheet. And I'm not saying that you should never use those, but like use something that you are already looking at. The entrepreneur is already looking at the bank accounts. They're looking at that more than a QuickBooks account already. So like, can we use that and leverage what we're doing? So that's where I would say first is really set this up, and then just get those 3 main numbers. What am I making, spending, and keeping? And then you'll know, like, do I know what those percentages are? How much of what I'm making am I spending, and how much of what I'm making am I keeping? Get those just basic numbers, and you'll have a good idea. And then what's cool from there, now you make decisions based on, I want to keep more. So guess what? I need to up that percentage. Now I have a system. When money comes in, I want to put a certain percentage there first, and then I have to live off what's left over. Can I make that happen consistently? Can I make that a habit? Because then now you're asking yourself better questions and have a system to back it up. Then what's really fun is once a quarter, you as the business owner should take up to 50% out of the profit account and do whatever the heck you want with it. And go out and celebrate, because that's the missing link for most business owners. They can't tie a lot of times how the business is giving them a tangible benefit of this is why I'm trading 80 hours working for myself versus 40 hours working for someone else. Like, take some of that money out of the profit account once a quarter up to 50% and say, this is it. I'm putting this towards why I started my business. So if that was to travel the world, like put it into a travel account. Or if that was to, spend more time with your family, like put some money in there and take a trip with them or do something, it's like, or if it was to buy a car, whatever it might have been, like use that guilt free, because everyone feels guilty about taking money out of their business. Everyone. Because we've had clients where they've had 6 figures and they've come to us in a savings account and they're like, I don't know if I can touch this. Like, I feel scared to touch my money. On the flip side, we've had people that are just very much in the red and like bleeding money, but then they start this system and they see the money piling up there and they're like, can I take it out? Am I still going to be okay? Because they've kind of boxed themselves in before, still in learning what they've learned. So it's like, use that account to be the catalyst for feeling like the business owner and transforming from scared about the finances to like, now I'm leveraging the finances to use what I want it to be. So that's how I would set it up. Know what you're making, spending, keeping, then make sure that you're giving yourself those rewards too.
Love that. Yeah. And I mean, I love the simplicity of it and then how black and white it is, like you said, of, hey, knowing if it's a red flag. The fractional CFO business that you have going, like, you gave a couple examples there of maybe they, are overstaffed or they have money in the property they didn't realize, or, things like that. Can you kind of talk about, how you add value there, and like, what are some of the things that you look for right away to know, hey, these are major improvements that you can potentially be making right off the bat?
So everyone that walks through our door, we do what we call foundational results. We're looking to get results as fast as possible. Most people come to us with the pain of bookkeeping. They have the pain of, my numbers are a mess. I don't know what I'm making, spending, or keeping. That's one of the first things we dive in and attack, because that's usually one of the first areas that gives the most clarity, confidence, and feeling of control for the business owner, and the sigh of relief. Even if they're bad numbers, it's usually a sigh of relief of like, at least I know how bad it is now. Usually though, we're going in there and it's not that bad, and they can make those decisions to become better right away. So that's how we add value first, is making sure that those get cleaned up. And that's why also I love having like that financial expert on the team, like the part-time CFO there, because we can get those cleanups and those numbers twice as fast to the business owner versus if they were just going to a bookkeeper and saying, can you help me clean this up? And then the bookkeeper and the owner never connect. This way they've got an advocate on the team to take that headache off their plate. Then from there, part of foundational result is setting up profit first, helping them get those first bank accounts established, and then helping them transfer their first money. And like saying, you just did something different than most business owners today do. You sold a deal and you put your profit first into an account. So it's like helping them feel that's tangible benefits of becoming the savvy business owner, of not spending every dollar that comes in. So that's another thing that we help with right away. Then we build a dashboard for them, a CFO dashboard that helps us track however many entities you have across the board. What are you making, spending, keeping? Where's the money flowing? Where are the opportunities to direct the money better? So that's what that dashboard is for. It's for those KPIs and the key performance indicators around the profitability of the company, to say, okay, you're spending this on DealMachine and you're getting a 10x return. Don't you ever stop this. It's like, can we ramp this up? It's like looking at the different areas of the business to say, this is what you're getting for those returns. You should pour more into it, or you're getting a little top heavy here. Are you bringing more income in, or do we need to make some cuts? And like helping them make those decisions, because that's where we see too, a lot of business owners, just their answer to everything is, we just need more income coming in, when they've got a lot of extra fat in the books and on the expense side. And we help them look at that, and really, because for every dollar that you cut, that goes right to the bottom line. $1 cut is $1 in your pocket. So that's where we help them and facilitate exercises there too, to make sure that they're not only just driving revenue, but they're also looking at expenses too, and cutting the things that need to be, cut out of the business or put on pause or whatever. So they're not just bleeding money all over the place. So that's a couple of the things we do right away when they first come in.
Cool. Yeah, I appreciate you making this, breaking it down to be very simple, very actionable for our audience. Really kind of give them kind of the foundations of how to even start thinking about this, or knowing they should be thinking about this. One last question I had, as you see kind of this market evolving, and things potentially being slowing down in many markets, or it's just a very uncertain time, I would say, for the market out there. Do you see things changing in your side of what you're looking at, or how are you kind of advising people kind of through this potential shift right here?
Yeah. So we work with a lot of different clients, up to this point, and we've worked with, many people since the beginning. And what we're seeing right now is that the people who know where the money's going, are able to make the pivots that they need to make. Like one client here in June, like when we first heard the rumblings, like it was kind of May, June, around there, of like the interest rates started going up. And he told me though in June, like he's been with us for 2 or 3 years now, and said, I filled up all my accounts for the rest of the year. Meaning like I wouldn't have to do another deal this year and I'd be okay. The next thing he said is, now that I've done that, I'm not going to, number one, spend like a month with my family. So it was like, cha-ching, that's awesome. But number two, he said, was now I can use some of the money that I'm going to make from future deals and invest them in different marketing channels, because I want to be able to pivot to where the market's going. So that's where a lot of people need that buffer. They need that margin, that room for error, for being able to say, hey, I don't know what's coming down the pipeline, but we have 6 months of reserves here. One of our biggest clients that we work with, they use us, and they have now 6 months of reserves in their like owner's pay account. So like even if the business shut down, they could pay themselves for 6 months while they regrouped. Like they would have 6 months to be able to do that. And that's where it's that feeling that no matter what the market does, we have that security of we can go to where the market is instead of having to react to what the market does. So that's where the Yoda comes into play pretty powerfully, of being able to say, hey, this is how much you have right now. Do we want to be aggressive and save more so you have like 6 months? Because we don't know what the market's going to do. I can't advise you on, the market's going up, down, sideways. But if you have this, if you have the reserves in place, if you have that peace of mind, it doesn't matter what the market does, you're going to come out on top. You're going to give yourself the runway to be able to say, I can withstand this. That's what the business owners really want. They don't want to just be like, oh, I made the snap decision and it was the best decision ever, and thank God I did that, and pivoted real fast, or otherwise I would have gone out of business. They want to have the time and the clarity to be able to say, you know what, interest rates doubled. No one's buying retail right now. We need to go to wholesale, or we need to buy, we need to go to our rental portfolio and pick out some of the losers in there and sell them off. And we need to do this or that. But it's having that space to be able to make those decisions is the real key. That a lot of people, once they see it and they see it in action, then they're like, okay, there's a recession coming. Okay, I've got 6 months, 12 months of runway, so I can, yeah, exactly. We're ready to go.
Love it, man. Well, this has been phenomenal. I again, really, really appreciate your time, David. I know you said the best way to connect with you directly.
Sure.
How can people reach out to you?
simplecfo.com/DealMachine. If you go there, that's like directly connected with both of us here. We wanted to give some special tools, like how to find profit first banks in your area. If you want to know the targets you should be shooting for, like what percentages should I be making, spending, keeping in my business, depending on how big my business is, we want to give you that too. Then a tool to be able to say, if money comes in, how do I divvy it up? So that way it gives you very simple tools. So if you go there to simplecfo.com/DealMachine, it'll give you those tools for free. And I also want to give you the first 2 chapters of the book, Profit First for Real Estate Investing, to make sure that like, hey, in there, you're probably going to connect with some people that if you're feeling the pain of the finances, they've been where you are. So it'll help you as well there too. So that's how you can connect with us.
Awesome. I really appreciate that, man. I mean, I know we'll go to, Collective Genius or any other events we go to, and Profit First for Real Estate Investing, your book is referenced all of the time there. So it's truly one of the top resources in our industry. Appreciate you giving us your time, your knowledge, and free resources there too.
Yeah. Do you mind me? I want to give one more tip. And I think this, if you're doing deals right now, I promise this will put $12,000 more in your pocket this year. So here you go. It's a framework for finding money immediately in your business. What I want you to do is print out the last 3 to 6 months of your expenses. Get your bookkeeper to do this, or go to your bank account and just print it off, and then do something real simple. Mark every single expense as P, R, or U. Is it profitable to me? Is it replaceable? Is it unnecessary? Just that simple framework. Because if it's profitable, it's either saving you time, money, headaches, and returning an investment to you. If it's replaceable, you can find something that would save you more time, money, or whatnot. And if it's unnecessary, you don't need it in the business. It's a lost subscription that you keep paying for. It's an employee that is not performing, or whatever it might be. Mark one of those 3 things, because if you find just $1,000 per month, that's $12,000 more per year that goes straight to your bottom line and into your pocket. So we've had people that do this. The craziest story was someone found 50,000 a month. I'm not guaranteeing those results at all because that was a crazy one because he was spending way too much across the board. But I can guarantee that if you're in the active real estate business doing this, you could find at least 1,000. There's probably $1,000 worth of fat in your business right now, and go through that and put that, and that goes straight to your bottom line. Mark it P, R, or U, and that'll help you have that leg up there. And honestly, just think about that. Think about the return on time. That might be a 1 to 2 hour activity of going through those things. Then you give it back to your team and you say, like, delete all the unnecessary things and like cancel those. And if it's replaceable, we have to find something different. So that way you can do that, put 2 hours of investing into it, and then return it $12,000. So that I want you to just grasp that. If you get that framework and do it, we've seen that happen a lot with our clients, and they're like, this is awesome. Love the framework. Like, this is going to help us save a ton of money. So I just want to give that as well too, because a lot of people love that and love that framework.
Yeah, at the very least, coming out of this video, make sure you sit down and do that today. So, again, I know it's simple, cfo.com/DealMachine. You've got all the free tools and resources there that David's giving away. But also, we'll link to that. We'll link to our Scaling and Real Estate Investing ebook in the description of this as well. But again, David, thank you so much for the time. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Cool. And to everyone watching, this is Matt Camp with DealMachine, and happy deal finding.